Yeah, tensions is definitely rising. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the A-Side. I am your host, Riley. And when Utopia came out, I listened to it and thought, Travis is kind of a boring MC without much of a personality, but most of the beats are cool. 6 out of 10. Done deal, right? Not really. Then I saw everyone losing their minds over it. I watched Brad's video, Brad Takes Music, where he, unabashedly loved the album, and I was hearing the music again. And while that was happening, I kind of realized that Utopia kind of sucks. Maybe not sucks, but is marred with lots of problems. And upon re-listening, and the more I thought about it, I just knew I had to talk about it in a longer form. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It's free, and you can always unsubscribe later if you want. Also, just putting it out there, I've probably already made everyone really mad. This video is strictly my opinion. If you adored Utopia, that's great. I'm glad that you like something I don't. Anyway. Everyone is ranting and raving about Utopia and how envelope-pushing it is. I really kind of think the opposite. I think the album is rather nutless in a lot of ways. I don't think it goes nearly far enough. It experiments a bit, but not into anything new. The places it goes the furthest is just in using an old Kanye beat and becomes Yeezus 2, which came out 10 years ago, or becomes Donda 3 with Donda beats. It's like that meme. Can we have Yeezus at home? No, we have Yeezus at home. Yeezus at home, and it's Utopia. And yeah, before I get the comments, I know Travis helped work on Yeezus and has been a big, part of Kanye's career since. Here's the thing with that. Like I said, Yeezus was 10 years ago. There's been plenty of time to build upon the sound and change it up or push it further. Make it his own. Instead, he just uses early unfinished versions of beats or just straight up rips them off. B. Him working on Yeezus sets the expectations higher because he has both the talent and the experience to make something interesting and new. Instead, he just recycles old beats and played it safe. The production on this album is not as crazy and experimental as so many people are saying it is. And it's not as futuristic as Travis thought it was. It's mostly borrowing from other artists. I mean, at least Rodeo was fresh for the time, and Astroworld has that cool, spacey psychedelic thing that I really liked. Occasionally, Utopia will have great production, but it's often underwhelming, unoriginal, or both. Furthermore, I just don't like Travis Scott as an MC. He's so boring in flow and monotone delivery, he makes me want to sleep. For someone who says he can't stop raging, he sure sounds like it's nap time. His voice always has so much reverb on it that it barely sounds real, and he has no personality to boot. He feels so one in a million. This lack of personality is especially true. Questionable Astroworld festival bars aside, these lyrics are just empty and uninteresting. It sucks too, because you would think he would have something to say. Absolutely meaningless. I feel not showing any remorse for Astroworld or any evolution as a writer or rapper in general shows just how one-dimensional he is. It makes it hard to really care about a song, even if the beat is cool. Imagine what this album could have been if Travis did some introspection and used some artistry after the whole Astroworld thing. He could have meditated on the downfalls of fame, how he went from zero to hero, his fame, his remorse. This could have been his My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, propelling his artistry to new heights, making a magnum opus that actually means something to him and the world. Instead, we got flexing about hoes and booze. Same shit as always, but worse, I'd say. Only a few times does he even mention the Astroworld incident, and it's often vague or just straight up self-centered and attention-seeking. As much as I'm gonna bitch about the lyrics on Utopia, it's still better than the lyrics on Pink Tape, at least. Pink Tape fucking sucks, right? I hate that record. Anyway, getting into the tracks, actually looking at what the songs have themselves. Modern Jam is just a ripoff of I Am a God. Literally. It's an early version of the I Am a God beat. But then Travis just rips off the same flow from I Am a God. Just listen to I Am a God and you'll hear it. At least Kanye has a personality and writes lyrics that aren't vapid and deprived of any soul or wit. I Like a Bi Girl on a Bicycle is just straight up filler. I mean, say what you want about Kanye, but he has a personality and he's interesting. He says some crazy shit on his music, especially on Yeezus, but that crazy shit is often at least compelling, even if you don't agree with what he has to say. On that record, I'm not talking about modern, I'm talking about on Yeezus. Some of the shit he says is out there and wild, but it's interesting and compelling, even if you don't like it, you know what I mean? Whereas Travis is just very one note. I do really like when Tiso comes on first verse, however, it's like a cool, zany, like glammy kind of moment. When he sings, that's like really cool, and it really caught my ear the first time listening to it. Similarly, God's Country is a Kanye song from when an earlier precursor to Donda was going to go by the same name, like the Wash Us in the Blood era. I can see why Ye cut the song, because the beat is obnoxious with its playground taunt, la 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 la's. Travis, being a non-entity he is, does nothing to stop it or help it. Instead, he rhymes Bundy with Bundy, and I love that. Telekinesis is also an unused Donda beat. Once again, I understand why Kanye cut it, because it is messy. When the beat drops, those panging noises sound like a road crossing light beeping with some blown out percussion. The more I listened to it, the more I noticed how much it sounds like the beat from I'm In It, which is already like my least favorite Kanye song. When SZA comes in, the synths blare so loudly it blows my eardrums out, and it feels like they just turned up SZA's voice as loud as they could to compensate with how loud those synths are. SZA is great as always. Her voice is gorgeous, but the actual sound of the production is really messy and kind of like unprofessionally done. What she's saying actually has a rather beautiful pain to it. It struck me when she said, "How can I sleep when you're out catching bodies?" Furthermore, the name telekinesis makes no sense. Travis repeats, "I can see the future, I can see the future." That's not telekinesis. That's clairvoyance. That's just a nitpick. It was disappointing when I learned Circus Maximus wasn't a reference to Autobot leader Fortress Maximus from Transformers The Headmasters. Yeah, the song blows chunks. It's a Black Skinhead ripoff. I mean, listen to those drums. And unlike Modern Jam, it's not even an early version, which actually makes it worse. The synths at the end are so electric and cool, but it's not enough to save it. The song also has the line, "I eat McDonald's, but I ain't no Ronald," which is just an eye roll. It's like he's trying to use a long-past meme to buy good graces back. Remember Travie Patty? Remember Cactus Jack sent me? The song also name-drops Socrates, which I think is obnoxious. If you're going to name-drop a philosopher, at least try and incorporate an aspect of their philosophy in some way. Make it interesting instead of just name-dropping, like, random historical figures, because what is even the point if that certain figure and their, like, history and story has nothing to do with what you're doing? Like, come on. Drake going, tea time, tea time, tea time on Meltdown is hilarious, in a way that's totally unintentional. I mean, British people be like, right? Other than that, his verse does nothing for me. He gives this weird, whispery delivery that I'm not on board with in the slightest. He talks about how his ops are scared of the Six, which no one is scared of Toronto. Allegedly, these disses are about Pusha T. My question is, who cares? I don't. That beef started in 2018. That was 5 years ago. Meltdown overall, though, is an obvious attempt to recapture the magic of sicko mode with Drake on the beginning and multiple beat switch-ups. While it doesn't succeed at being sicko mode, I like some of the stuff in here. When it first switched to Travis, I love the triumphant beat made from what sounds like synthesized wind instruments. I also like the acoustic guitar passage it breaks down into, and the line about shooting a guy at Walmart like the baby is very funny, and is one of my favorite lines on the record. If it weren't for Drake, I actually think Meltdown would be a solid track. Everybody loves My Eyes. I don't buy it. Travis doesn't have the charisma to make me empathize with this sad reflection thing he's doing. I do not care. Besides, it's just a Frank Ocean ripoff, like it's a Blonde ripoff. This is Travis's, quote, deep song on the album where he talks about his soul and love. However, he uses a sample from the Japanese House album that came out a month earlier to form the basis of the song. Like, the fact that your deep, introspective song was thrown together in less than a month is just gross. Actual substance clearly isn't Travis's goal, as this beat was just obviously thrown together from something that came out a month ago. Like, this wasn't planned. He had 5 years to do this, and you know, the deepest song in the album is just so obviously cobbled together. And of course, he still has times to flex his Rolex. The line, "If you knew what Scotty would do to jump in the crowd and save him a child," is particularly bad. We know what you would do, Travis. Nothing. You'd keep going. Then he'd have the audacity to make it about himself, saying, "I gotta find balance and keep me inspired." I understand separating art from the artist, but when the artist directly addresses the controversy in his song with no remorse, making it about himself, it's a whole different story. No, instead he says when he rages it can't be turned down. I know it's a typical mid-hip-hop song. It's not the worst, but I could care less about Travis's 20 bitches sucking on him like bison and his 5 a.m. drunk booty calls. This is more of a problem I have with rap in general. Every other line or song is some vaguely misogynistic line about fucking bitches. I feel like this genre is becoming creatively bankrupt. There's only so much a man can take of flexing the hose over hi-hats and 808s. Utopia Twins does the same thing, as I know, but it's somehow dumber and the beat is worse. It's a basic trap beat. Travis talks about his fetish of banging a set of twins, and shit gets dumb. When he holds out, jet ski! I honestly wish I was deaf, so I wouldn't have ever had to hear that. He says glizzy, which is dumb. Just when you think things couldn't get any worse, 21 Savage swoops in to save the day. I've never liked 21 Savage. He always sounds like he's particularly bored, and he's like a Pokemon with his 21. It's a garbage song. Parasail features both Young Lean and Dave Chappelle, which is just fucking weird, right? Like, not a pairing I think I'd ever see, especially on like a big mainstream Travis Scott album. It's just an interlude though, so it doesn't really have much bearing in my opinion on the album. It doesn't have much bearing talking about otherwise. It's just kind of a fun pair up. Like, I know Dave Chappelle is a very controversial figure, but just the idea of Dave Chappelle and Young Lean on a song together is like, it sounds like it's a joke, right? And it's funny, it's fun. As a concept, the interlude itself I don't care about. I think the album opens strongly with Hyena. It has one of my favorite moments in the album with the sample of Proclamation by Gentle Giant, this situation we are in, it can change, it can stay the same. I love that melody and the choppy delivery. With the reverb, it makes it sound rather chilling and haunting. What follows is a pretty hard beat, and it's capped off with some dark, rich synths. Lyrically, the song is nothing. Travis raps about bitches, clothes, and money, which is just shocking. I've already aired out my grievances with Travis as a writer and a rapper, and will continue to do so. Thank God it's once again a cut Kanye song, but unlike the others, this one doesn't suck. It's got this cold feel to it, not unlike Kid Cudi's Man on the Moon 3, but it still feels like it's its own thing. The synths throughout the entirety of the track are way up my alley. The strings here are a nice inclusion as well. It makes Travis's return for the first time in 5 years actually feel like an occasion before transitioning back into that darker, colder sound from the beginning of the song. The beats got different sections and layers instead of just being a lazy ripoff. I will say, this shit go hard, it wasn't easy, is the least effort I've heard put into a bar. Storm's a minor, but you know she's living major is of a similar level. It's I say thing, then opposite of thing. That is not lyricism, that is lazy. K-pop was the lead single from this record. It's a super safe, kind of bland radio fodder, but it isn't the worst thing on earth. It doesn't sound horrible. I like some of Bad Bunny singing. However, Mommy is not sexy. That's some weird shit to call your partner. Sorry, Abel. Phenom almost catches you off guard when it comes in gun blazing with these kind of blaring, ear-catching synths. This song is awesome. It's almost like a midway point between Travis's kind of more darker psych-leaning sound and the rage sound Cardi pulled out on Whole Lotta Red. Cardi is on this song, and I have no idea what the fuck he's doing, but I'm here for it. I love Cardi. Even if he's not, like, the most substantive rapper lyrically, he really brings a lot to the table when it comes to delivery and voices and new ideas and energy. And it makes him a very unique and interesting figure, because you know his production is always going to be interesting, but you also know he's always going to do some wild shit with the delivery, and that, of course, bleeds into his features, and on this feature he's doing some kind of voice he has never done before. And it's interesting. Sirens also works for me quite a bit. It has my other top highlight from the album, which is John Mayer's beautiful guitar solo, a synth layer and crescendo on top of it. It's easily the most gorgeous moment on the album, and I wish the rest of the album reflected this lush, dreamlike opulence. However, I still enjoy the robust beat on the rest of the song, which really has this adventurer vibe to it. However, Travis loses points here for rhyming departments with department. See what I mean when I said the lyrics were lazy? On Delestro, Beyonce gives an extremely chilling and moving vocal performance over this extremely dark club beat. We also get a cool little Justin Vernon feature. Travis sucks in this song, though. He just interpolates Cold Winter, which by itself isn't a bad thing, but for an album where he just takes from Kanye so clearly and so, often, it just really sticks out. But fuck, Beyonce is amazing on this song. And I'm not usually a huge Beyonce guy, but when her vocals layer, like, it's like bliss. Schizo is the funny haha hive mind song. I know he says hide mine, but as the evil Riley of music YouTube, I found it funny. The good Riley being the one from Hive Mind. The song is fine. The first beat switch doesn't do much for me because the beats are too similar. The second one is cool, and it's like a little soulish. Also, the Yay over Biden line is funny. Cry about it. Free Thug. I know it's a common opinion that Love is the worst song on the album, but it's probably my favorite. The undercurrents of the beat here is so hypnotizing, and it has the most energy of any song on this album. And I like the Kid Cudi feature. Even if he's kind of phoning it in, an actual shred of personality lands on this album, and it's on top of the most interesting beat on the album to boot, and it just gets me going. I like Love a lot. Till Further Notice is a solid closer. I love James Blake's menacing croon on this song, especially over a Metro beat. They work together great. I mean, just look at the Spider-Verse soundtrack, which is an album I love, the new one. And I'm glad he didn't choose to use James Blunt either. You know, that, you're beautiful, it's true. That would be weird. I actually kind of want to see that now, James Blunt on a Travis Scott album. Even 21 drops a solid verse here about a relationship gone sour. It's actually kind of cohesive and tells a bit of a story. Not a bad way to end the record. Overall, Utopia is a weird mix of an album. A lot of this is like a Kanye... It's like a ripoff of Kanye. It's throwaway Kanye beats with a cardboard cutout rapping over them. Travis's lack of personality, dimension, and thinking on this record is just horrible. Say what you want about Kanye, but like I said, he's compelling. While his beats are cool, he has a big personality. And while what he says in his music is usually batshit insane, he's interesting, and the music has a heart and an actual meaning to it, mostly. This album is just so empty. It's devoid of personality from Travis. Usually that would be excusable with Travis because his beats are cool. Look at Astroworld. But between the things that have gone on in the Travis Scott story and the reused, unoriginal ripoff beats, it really starts to stick out like a sore thumb. There are moments here that do really work, but this album is over an hour long, and those moments that are good are very few and far between. There is no need for an album with very few new musical ideas and nothing interesting to say to run for that long. If this was a short, like, Kids See Ghosts, Daytona album with, like, Hyena, Delestro, Love, Fiend, Sirens, and Meltdown, it would be a pretty solid project. Alas, it's not. All it is that it means that good moments are just drowned out by the constant screaming of mid on originality. I'm feeling a 4 on Utopia. What did you think of this album? Let me know in the comments down below. Did you hate it? Did you love it? I'm assuming you probably loved it. Everyone loved this record. I didn't, and hey, that's okay. Like I said earlier, leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you all next time.